G'day guys, welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. Today we're going to go through my best 17 for the Penrith Panthers in season 2025. Looking for what feels like their 1,000th fucking premiership in a row. It is going to be one hell of a season for the Panthers. I think this will be their biggest challenge so far. Fisher Harris, Jerome Luai and Taruva out of the building. Obviously the first two, the big notable losses for this club. But we've seen them have numerous notable losses over the years, whether it be Critter, Kick Out, Appy, and they just seem to find a way. So I think this year is going to be the most interesting one. I said from midway through the season, I'm going to tip them to win the comp in 24. I'm not going to in 25. I think it will start to catch up on them, and I think you'll see a team rise above. But I still think this Penrith Panthers side, they are an absolute certainty for me to be a top four finish, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are there on the final Sunday of the season. Let's have a look at this Penrith side now, guys. If you are watching this on YouTube, as I've said at the other ones, you could have watched this a week ago in the Roo Crew. The link is in the description. Come and join us. All of our extra rumors that we hear, extra content, exclusive content, our Supercoach stats coming your way. Bit of behind the scenes invites to Roo Crew events. We'll have things around Magic Round, Origin, Las Vegas, all this sort of stuff. $8 a month, absolutely cheap as chips. Jump in there, go read through the comments and see. Honestly, people are fucking sick of me in there. There's too much content in there. You will get your value well and truly, and if you don't, come to one of the meet and greets and absolutely drink it down your gozzle. You'll have a great time. Jump in the Roo Crew, links in the description. Let's get into the Penrith Panthers for season 2025. And look, guys, I think most of this team picks itself. There are a couple of interesting ones and sort of how you want to make up the bench and whatnot, but I think most of it picks itself. We start at the fullback, Dylan Edwards, obviously a tremendous season last year, his fourth premiership in a row. There's fullbacks in the comp with higher ceilings, bigger pay packets, all this sort of stuff. There's only one in the comp who's got as many premierships as he has. He's a Clive Churchill medalist. He is an absolute automatic shit-in at fullback for the Penrith Panthers, Dylan Edwards. It was so funny looking at some stuff in the preseason about Dylan Edwards, and I actually went back to looking at a Toyota Cup game that I was looking for a clip out of, and not only was Dylan Edwards in this Toyota Cup game, he was playing on the wing in that Toyota Cup side. To then go through to first grade and to have, I think it was his debut, he had an absolute fucking shocker. Like, I think it was watching Dylan Edwards' debut or one of the early games of his career. I remember sitting there going, my God, I don't know if this kid's ever going to emotionally recover from this game. And to look back at his career and what he's done and what he's achieved in an era of Tedesco, Turbo, Latrell, these sort of absolute greats of the position. It's pretty damn impressive. Let's move to the wingers. Brian To'o, I've been saying it for a few years now. I think he's the greatest winger we have ever seen. He's without a doubt the best winger of this generation. People throw at me, Wendell Saylor, sure, an elite player. I'd have him in my top three. I think To'o's better. I think he's been more consistent. I think that what he does out of his own end, he is just an absolute fucking freak. He obviously shits in on one wing and automatic in this Panthers side for as long as he is at the club. The other wing, I would probably, obviously Taruva's left. You have got options here, Jesse McLean, Casey McLean. Now, Jesse McLean, I believe, more of a winger. Casey, more of a centre. Just based off what he did last year and what he did for the Kiwis, though, I would go with Casey McLean. I know it's a bit odd. He is the younger one. Jesse's very talented as well. But I just think Casey, what he did in first grade, he's just made for these stages. The last time I saw him play footy was for the Kiwis. I think he scored 4 meat pies in that one. A tremendous effort. I think he'll land on the wing. I think coming out of his own end, he's sensational. So I know he's more of a centre, but you're not going to pick him over the two centres they've got. So I think if you need a wing spot, it's him or Jesse. I'd personally go with Casey. I think he will line up there. Jesse, as I said, though, guys, a very talented footballer, so one to keep an eye on. But I think Casey will land that wing spot. Centres, same from the grand final. These two pick themselves. Isaac Tungo, he was criticised all season by myself included. And then in typical Panthers fashion, the calendar hit September and Isaac Tungo went, nah, fuck it, I'll just be one of the best centres in the game again, and did it and was tremendous in the grand final. The final series is incredible. Criticised his defence all year and then Typical Panthers, the big stages arrived when it mattered. He delivered. He was sensational. Paul Alamotti as well, 2 tries in the grand final. He was unbelievable. The final series he had, very, very impressive. This kid that came through at the Canterbury Bulldogs, I spoke about him coming into first grade saying he is a proper elite talent. He had that season at Canterbury where people were sort of looking at me going, what the fuck are you talking about? He arrives at the Panthers. They get the very best out of him. And, he's a proper elite centre in, his third year of first grade. Pretty incredible. He will line up in the centres. For me, I think that back 5 is all but locked in. I think it would take an injury for us not to see that back 5 run out. I think that's how it'll play out. He gets to the halves. Obviously, Nathan Cleary, you might have heard of him. He'll play halfback. Been handy over the last few years, potentially the greatest we've ever seen, depending on how the career plays out. We'll talk about him for the rest of the decade. So we'll leave that there. Nath will be the halfback. 5'8's interesting. Obviously, Jerome Luai leaves a massive hole there as well. Blaze Talangi has arrived at the club. Jack Cole, he's come through the grades. Brad Schneider's arrived recently. Dane Laurie's still floating around as well. For me, I believe Blaze Talangi will be the 5'8. If he is not, I think that means that in the trials, he has let in 3 to 4 tries and defensively just been in all sorts, which I'm not ruling out. He's had a lot of issues recently. I mentioned in the Roo Crew the other day, got some mail out of the Panthers camp that it looks like he is leading the race to be the 5'8. Not only that, there's been a couple of days at training where I've been told he's been held back for 2 to 3 hours just to work with the defensive coaches. Some people go, oh, that's a red flag. I fucking love it. The kid's got a weakness and he's working on it, and the Panthers will get the best out of him. He will be the 5'8 in my opinion. He's going to be an elite ball player. Watched him come through the grades at Parramatta. He was always a gun, could play centre, 5'8 fullback. I personally thought fullback was going to be his best spot. He's landed at the 5'8 role at the Panthers. I think he can do a good job. The defense is just going to be the big question mark. I'm probably going to back in the best defensive system our game has ever seen. Just sort this kid out. He doesn't have to turn into prime Brad Fittler, prime Andrew Johns in defence, but he just needs to hold his own and just show a jersey. So I think Blaze will line up at 5'8", and I think it's going to be a dangerous, dangerous halves combination. Let's get into the engine room. In the front row, Leota. He's been one of the hallmarks of this side for a very, very long time. He will remain there. He obviously loses his partner in crime, James Fisher-Harris. Someone has to step up. And for me, you've obviously got guys like Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry. Honestly, at the start of last year, I probably would have told you it was going to be Liam Henry. But watching the season Lindsay Smith had, obviously made it into the Kangaroos side, an incredible rapid rise. We were at a golf tournament at the end of the year. Lindsay Smith happened to be there. I got to spend a bit of time with him. I got to tell you, couldn't find a better fucking bloke. He was sensational. I can see, obviously on field, but I can see off field why the Panthers absolutely loved this guy. He was almost so much of a nice guy. It shocked me that he was an Australian front rower. But he's just made of the right stuff, Lindsay Smith. I believe he will start there. I think he's the best option for them. So I think you'll see Leota and Lindsay Smith there. The unsung hero in this team, Mr. Underappreciated, Mitch Kenny. I think it was his birthday the other day. Shout out to him. It was his birthday? Yesterday. Good on him. How good. Tough as nails. I reckon he could be a little smoky for an Origin debut this year. It honestly wouldn't shock me if certain things fall his way. If there's maybe an injury or two, I reckon he'll come into calculations, especially if Nathan Cleary's going to be the halfback or whatever they do there. Mitch Kenny's been tremendous the last few seasons. Appy left and we all went, oh my God, what are they going to do? How are they going to make it work? Mitch went, I'll just tackle my dick off and just get the ball to Nath and we'll sort it out. Looking back at that 2023 grand final, if you go back and watch that final set, everyone talks about Nath, and rightly so. But for me, Mitch Kenny just pulled the right rein on every single tackle. Bit of deception on a few plays was enormous. So Mitch Kenny, he will be the 9. He will play 80 minutes for the vast majority of the season, and you won't hear a thing out of him. Let's move to the edge back rowers. Liam Martin, obviously on the right edge, the Clive Churchill medalist from season 2024. I can't tell you how happy it makes me that he got that. For years and years and years, I've been fighting in the comments with people telling me he only runs 80 metres. Blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. He's a gun. He is a weapon. You don't measure Liam Martin on stats and Supercoach points. You do it on the eye test. No one wants to deal with him, and he knows it, and he fucking embraces it, and I love it. A Clive Churchill medalist locked in on the right edge. He will partner Nathan Cleary on that side. Left edge, big conversation here. It was Viliami kick-out for years. He moved to Canterbury. Scotty Sorensen stepped up from the bench, jumped in on that edge. He was tremendous. Luke Garner's played some footy there as well. I think that left edge is between Luke Garner, Scotty Sorensen, or the new man into the building, Isaiah Papali'i. My mail out of the Panthers is that he is absolutely flying. He has been very, very impressive since arriving. This is a guy that only 2 years ago was a Dally M second rower of the year. And honestly, I would argue that season the best forward in rugby league. He was tremendous. And I think we're heading for another season like that. In my opinion, I would pick Isaiah Papali'i, but I think what you will find, and this is something that I would obviously know 10 times better than me, I think what it will come down to is who is the better defensive back rower for Blaze Talangi, because that's going to be their job. It's going to be Kevin Costner sort of areas. You're the bodyguard for Blaze. He needs help. You need to fucking give it to him. So we need to work out who's going to be the best for him, whether it's going to be Papali'i, Scotty Sorensen, it could be Luke Garner. I'm not too sure who it's going to be just yet. My tip is Isaiah Papali'i. I think he will line up on the left edge. I think it'll be a dangerous as fuck combo too. I can't wait to watch it. Isaiah Papali'i on the left edge for me. They could shift him into the middle. I've heard some people say they would even play him in the front row. Personally, it's not the direction I would go in. I'd play him on the edge. He's a Dally M second rower of the year. When he's playing out there, he can kill it. I'd play him out there, and then I would play Scotty Sorensen off the bench. We'll get to him very soon. Jersey 13, the Golden Boot medalist. Incredible stuff. Isaiah Yeo, the most consistent lock forward in rugby league. People want to argue whether he's the best or not, and sure, your Cam Murrays of the world and whatnot, right up there. But similar to Dylan Edwards, is he the best lock? Maybe not. Who wins the most though? Give you the hot tip. It's Isaiah Yeo, the Australian captain, the New South Wales captain, the Penrith Panthers captain. He will line up in Jersey 13, and if they are to win their 5th premiership in a row, Isaiah will be incredibly important and will just elevate him to a new level once again. All right, that's my 1 to 13. Edwards, Casey McLean, Isaac Tungo, Paul Alamotti, Brian To'o, Blaze Talangi, Nathan Cleary, Leota, Kenny, Lindsay Smith, Isaiah Papali'i, Liam Martin, and Isaiah Yeo. Let's get into the bench. I think Jersey 14 is a really interesting conversation. You have obviously got guys like Dane Laurie. You have got Brad Schneider. You have got Cole, Somerton, Sonny Luke. A heap of options there for the Penrith Panthers. For me, I'm happy to back in Mitch Kennedy to go the distance, so I don't so much think Luke Somerton's the guy. I don't think you want to bring Sonny Luke on. I think I love Sonny Luke, and I can't believe another club hasn't gone out and signed him. It just doesn't work with Nath. He's too much of a dominant ball player. If you're going to play Sonny Luke at 9, you need to play Sonny Luke football, which their reserve grade do, and they kill it. I just don't think it's going to work in first grade. So that leaves for me Brad Schneider, Cole, and Dane Laurie. Out of those three, if I'm playing against the Penrith Panthers, the last player I want to see come on the field when my guys are tired is Dane Laurie. I would take him in Jersey 14. Depending on the game and the situation and whatnot, maybe you do look to a Brad Schneider or a Cole. Obviously, I would rather those guys jump in and play 9, but I just think the way that the Penrith Panthers play and how the hooker plays 80 minutes, the lock plays 80 minutes, I don't think you need to carry that guy that can play hooker. I think they'll be okay. If they get, worst case scenario, someone else can jump into 9 and that they'd be sweet, I think. So for me, I'd go with Dane Laurie, because I think if I was playing against Penrith, he'd worry me the most. Once again, it would be game dependent. If you were going into a game that you knew was going to be really tight through the middle, it might be a case you go, okay, maybe we don't want Mitch Kennedy to go the distance. Maybe we play Cole there. Maybe we play Schneider, whoever it might be. But for me, Dane Laurie, I want to pick the guy that my opposition doesn't want to deal with. Jersey 15, Scotty Sorensen. Start on the left edge. Over the last few years, he can do it at a very, very high click, as we have seen. For me, though, before that, he was on the bench with Spencer Leniu, and he was dominating coming off the bench. So much so that it took a lot of dominoes to fall for Ivan Cleary to move him off the bench. I think Scotty Sorensen can go back into his bench role, play through the middle. I think he can do really well. And I think you just allow Isaiah Papali'i and Blaze Talangi to sort themselves out on that edge. The other thing with the left edge spot, if you got Papali'i there, for me, and I'm pretty confident this is what Ivan will do, I think that'll be an 80-minute gig. I don't think Ivan's going to want moving pieces around Blaise Talangi. I think he's going to want his bodyguard there, and they're going to play 80 minutes together, and you're going to have to go the distance. I can't see them swapping Sorensen out there and shit. Combinations for the Penrith Panthers are incredibly important, and I think that's how it will work out. So it'll be interesting how that left edge goes. Sorensen off the bench for me. Jersey 16, I would go with Liam Henry, the Blaney Bear. I hold this kid in very high regard. I think he's got a huge future ahead of him. If you would have said to me at the start of last year that a Penrith Panthers bench player would have been playing for the Kangaroos, it turned out to be Lindsay Smith. I would have tipped Liam Henry. I absolutely love this guy. I think he's got a big future ahead of him, and I think he'll do a job for them week in, week out. I think he's that guy that can play 40 minutes off the bench, and when you go to Origin or you have injuries, whatever it might be, chuck him in the front row, and I'm confident he'll do a job for you. Jersey 17, I've looked through their squad. You've obviously got guys like Eisenhuth, Kapoa, who could play that role really well. I think I'd probably just go with Luke Garner. And look, he left the West Tigers, and we all thought he was going to absolutely explode there. Sort of struggled a little bit early, to be honest with you, but I think he found his groove by the end of the season over the last 2 years. I think he's earned a spot in this side. He can play in the middle. He can play on the edge. He's also a guy that I think if they had an injury out in the centres, you could probably chuck him out there, and I'm very confident he'd be okay. So I think he's a good Jersey 17 to have. He has shown come finals football, grand finals, whatever it might be, he can handle those stages. So I think Garner is the guy in Jersey 17, as most of us expected. So that is my 1-17 for the Penrith Panthers. I love the look of this side. The thing that I love even more, though, is the depth. These are the guys that didn't make the team. Jesse McLean, who I'm confident can be a gun. Brad Schneider, who has shown this season he can step into first grade and lead this team around and get them Ws. Asu Kapoa, who I think's got a heap of potential, came over from the West Tigers. He's bounced around the league a little bit, can play centre, second row, a very handy guy to have in your squad. Jack Cole, who I actually thought was going to be the guy to replace Jerome Luai. He was my early tip when Jerome Luai first signed with the West Tigers. Blaise Talangi, though, I think he is the better option at the moment. Somerton, another guy who can play 9, who can come in, he can, share minutes, he can play lock. He's a good footballer. Gaia, who's still got a big future ahead of him. Mav, I'd probably surprised me how slow his development's been, but once again, it's hard to get into the greatest team we've ever fucking seen. But Maverick Gaia, he is first grade ready. Eisenhuth, who's done a